out. This is a special place for me. I work at Stalo Nation, and they've kindly donated these tents here. The Stalo Tribal Council has been a leadership in around river relations. A lot of our First Nations chief and councillors have gone through a lot of trouble on the river, not just with our own people, but sometimes with non-native people. And there's been different ways of dealing with these issues. And at one point there was some pretty tough circumstances that took place, with guns and paddles and outright violence. And that kind of behavior on the river is dangerous, and doesn't add anything to our fishery. Adds absolutely zero to our fishery, and takes away. So there's been a lot of leadership, and I can't acknowledge that half of them that stood up to do something good. But right off the bat, I'd like to call upon Rod Clapton. Is he the president of Peacemakers here, to kind of give a little bit of a history of what Peacemakers is, and then and he'll share a little bit of a story, I guess, too. So thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. I'm basically speaking today on behalf of Peacemakers and the recreation community at large. And first and foremost, I want to thank the Cheam First Nations for putting this together today. And specifically, I want to thank Ernie Victor for the work that he's put into this. Greatly appreciated. We certainly don't have to tell any of you here that the year 2019, without a doubt, is some of the worst salmon runs we've ever seen. Effectively, it totally shut down the recreation fishery, and has certainly created very, very significant hardship for First Nations communities. Obviously, pretty dramatic actions are required to get some of these fish back. Obviously, as well, we must put aside past differences, which we've tried to do over the years, and work together to save our salmon and steelhead. We have to try to ignore some of the negativity that's out there, some of the divisiveness, and certainly some of the comments that you may see on some of the websites, etc., that are really not helpful to the situation at all. I think today is again a wonderful example of how, under some of the toughest fishing conditions that we've ever had in my memory, that First Nations community and the rec community, under the umbrella of Peacemakers, can come together to share the day, share our cultures, and share the fact that we both have a specific agenda in mind, and that is to find a way to get the fish back. I used to be able to just put on a speech without reading anything, but one of the first things that goes, obviously, is the memory, so I had to make some notes, which I've done here. Certainly, I think we have to acknowledge that Peacemakers has done an outstanding job over the last 11, 12 years in promoting cooperation on the river and trying to reduce conflict. And as Ernie mentioned, there were some pretty significant, serious issues that have taken place in the past, and I think we have had some support, and we've made some impact in reducing the conflict. As a matter of fact, there was an issue on the Chehalis River recently, and we had Peacemakers had a meeting last week with the Stalis people, and I was chatting earlier with Kelsey and Dave Moore regarding that it was very refreshing to see how, again, after all these years, the communities can come together in a time of crisis and try to make a difference, provide safe, respectful fisheries for all user groups. We are also, you may be aware, Peacemakers, along with ongoing Tier 3 consultation with people like Murray Ned and others within the group here, we're hoping that this effectively can also provide some of the leadership and hopefully develop programs going forward which will further enhance cooperation and safety and cooperation on the river. We have some young people in attendance here today, including my grandchildren. I wanted to get both of them out here today to see what First Nations culture is about and to see how the future may unfold. These people are the future stewards. The one priority, and I've discussed with Ernie Crane, wonderful, where's Ernie? Wonderful to see you here today, Ernie. We know you've had some challenges, and you're looking really good, by the way. And I know many times we have shared the belief, the priority within our cultures that we have to find a way to preserve this precious resource for our respective future generations. And certainly we're going to be doing that through the young people, and it's so important that we support them as the future stewards. I just want to say, I want to thank you all for coming out and again demonstrating, as you have in the past, that we can put aside petty differences and work together to save our precious salmon and steelhead runs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clapton. I just love starting a sentence out with I have a good friend of mine, a good mentor, respected Grand Chief. To say the next few words before I call upon him. I just wanted to share a little bit about Cheam First Nation and our community here. We have approximately about 8 or 9 different families within our community. Population of about 500 people. We have a council of 5. I think 200 people live on our reserve. Most of them are fishermen. I think the kids are out there starting young, and we have a strong work ethic when it comes to fishing. We love the foreshore. Vision of ours is within our community is foreshore management. And right now, I feel, and I do see it all the time, that the government is failing us in managing our foreshores. I see some people here who are highly respected in looking after this part of the river. And later today on the agenda, we have my cousin Carrie Lynn Victor, who's going to come, and we did a sturgeon habitat restoration over here. We did a little bit of gravel removal, created some sturgeon holds and some sturgeon spawning areas. The pink salmon are coming back to this area, so when she shows up, she's from this community as well. Take the tour, and that'll be afterwards. So I'd like to call upon Grand Chief Doug Kelly to say a few words on behalf of the First Nations people as part of the opening comments.